The wind whistled softly through the jagged cliffs of planet Kalira, carrying the scent of wet soil and strange alien flowers. Captain Elias stood at the edge of the outpost, his gaze fixed on the dense forest below. The valley stretched wide, covered in thick fog that curled around the enormous trees. Legends told of creatures living in these forest creatures, so large and powerful that early explorers had called them monsters. Elias adjusted the strap of his pack and turned to his team. "We stick together," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Remember, we don't know what we're dealing with. Observation first, action second." Marin, the youngest member of the team, nodded eagerly. Her brown eyes shone with curiosity, but a flicker of fear was visible too. She had heard the rumors, the stories of a giantess who could crush a human with a single step. But she also knew that fear would not help them survive. The team descended the narrow trail, their boots crunching over stones and fallen branches. Every step seemed louder in the quiet valley, and the fog made the forest look alive, as if shadows were moving among the trees. Elias raised a hand to stop. "Do you see that?" He whispered far ahead. A movement caught their eyes. Among the massive ferns, a shadow shifted. The figure was enormous, taller than any human, its limbs strong and long. But as it stepped into the clearing, they saw it was more than just a giant. Its skin shimmered slightly, like the surface of wet stone, and its eyes were dark and intelligent. Marin's breath caught. She's huge," she said, her voice trembling. Elias nodded. "Keep calm. We are visitors here. Remember that." The team watched, hidden behind the trees, as the giantess bent down. Her fingers, long and strong, picked up something from the ground, small, round fruits that glowed faintly in the mist. She sniffed them carefully, then tossed one aside, seemingly displeased. Marin stepped slightly forward. Maybe she's hungry," she whispered. She reached into her pack and took out a packet of rations, carefully unwrapping a piece. It was a simple thing, a dense, nutrient-packed bar, but it was enough to show goodwill. "Wait," Elias said softly. "Be careful." But Marin had already stepped into the clearing, holding the food in her outstretched hand. "Here," she said gently. "Take this. We don't want to hurt you." The giantess froze. For a long moment, she just stared. The fog swirled around her massive form, and her eyes scanned Marin carefully. Then a sound came, a low, dark laugh that echoed through the trees, bouncing off the cliffs. It was neither fully threatening nor friendly, but it made the hair on the back of Elias's neck stand on end. "She's laughing?" Marin asked, her voice barely audible. Elias frowned. "We don't know what that means. Stay calm. Don't make sudden moves." The giantess bent down, reaching toward the food. Her hand, massive and precise, hovered over Marin's offering. The humans held their breath. Then, slowly, she picked up the food and brought it to her mouth. For a moment, it seemed as if time itself had stopped. The giantess chewed, her expression unreadable. Then, with a deliberate motion, she swallowed. Her eyes lifted, meeting Marin's, and she gave a small nod. Elias let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. She's not attacking," he said. Marin smiled, relief washing over her. "She just wanted food," she said softly. The giantess's lips curled slightly, and then, in a gesture that made the humans shiver with awe, she licked them. Not in a way that threatened them, but in a way that seemed almost pleased. "Stay alert," Elias said. "We don't know her intentions yet." They watched for a while longer. The fog shifted, revealing the giantess's massive form more clearly. She moved with surprising grace, each step deliberate. The humans began to notice details, the way she used the environment, the careful attention she gave to the plants and animals around her. She was powerful, yes, but intelligent. She's not what they said, Marin whispered. The old stories. They were wrong. Elias nodded. Stories often exaggerate. The truth is usually more complex. Suddenly, a rustle in the underbrush made the team freeze. From the shadows, small creatures scuttled out no larger than a human child, but strange, alien in form. The giantess turned instantly, her eyes narrowing, and she made a low, rumbling sound. The small creatures scattered, clearly frightened. She's protecting something, Elias said quietly. Maybe this forest isn't just her home. Maybe it's her responsibility. Marin's eyes widened. Like a guardian? Elias nodded. Exactly. We need to respect that. The team decided to set up a small camp at the edge of the clearing. They didn't want to get too close too fast. They watched the giantess from a distance, learning her patterns. She collected fruits, tended to the small creatures, and sometimes paused to listen to the wind or the birds. She was enormous, yes, but she was more than just strength. She was careful, deliberate, intelligent. That night, as they gathered around their portable heaters, the humans spoke in hushed tones. Do you think she's dangerous? Marin asked. Elias shook his head. Not inherently, but we need to understand her. Humans survive not because we're the strongest, but because we observe, think, and adapt. Marin smiled faintly. We can do that. We can learn from her, and maybe she can learn from us. The night was long, filled with the sounds of the forest and the occasional low rumble from the giantess. But as the humans drifted into uneasy sleep, Elias thought about the possibilities. A creature this powerful, yet intelligent and responsive, could change their understanding of the planet and of humans themselves. Humans were explorers. Yes, but they were also clever, adaptable, and brave. They had faced unknown worlds before. And now, facing a being that dwarfed them, they would need all of those qualities and more. The giantess, in the clearing below, paused to look up at the distant lights of the human camp. Her eyes, intelligent and curious, studied them. Then she settled down, resting, her massive frame blending with the fog. It was as if she was thinking, considering these strange little creatures who had dared to approach her with peace rather than weapons. Somewhere deep inside the forest, a low, dark laugh echoed again. But this time, it carried less menace and more curiosity. Elias watched the stars above, thinking of the challenges ahead. This was only the beginning. Tomorrow, they would learn more not just about her, but about what humans could do when faced with the unknown. The fog rolled over the valley, and the giantess disappeared into its embrace. The humans slept lightly, their minds filled with questions, fears, and hopes. And far below, in the silent, misty forest, a massive form waited, watching, and considering the small, brave creatures who had dared to offer her food. The adventure had begun. The sun rose slowly over the misty valley, casting long shadows through the dense forest. Captain Elias and his team woke to the sounds of birds chirping, the wind whispering through enormous trees, and a faint, distant rumble that reminded them that the giantess was still near. Marin rubbed her eyes and looked down toward the clearing. The giantess had already risen, her massive frame towering over the plants. She was moving carefully, picking fruits, watching the small creatures that scuttled around her. It was clear that the forest was her world, and she was its guardian. Elias joined her, looking over the edge of the ridge. "Observe first," he said quietly. "We need to understand her patterns before we approach again." Marin nodded, feeling both excitement and apprehension. The giantess was unlike anything they had ever encountered. She was dangerous by size alone, but so far, she had shown no hostility. The team spent the morning watching from hidden spots, taking notes and making careful observations. They noticed that she had preferences, some fruits she ignored, Others she carefully peeled or carried to certain small creatures. When one of the alien rodents approached, she did not attack. Instead, she lowered her massive hand and allowed it to nibble a fruit she had placed there. "She's thoughtful," Marin whispered. "She's not just huge and strong. She cares." Elias nodded. "Yes, and that is key. Intelligence, empathy, and observation, those are things humans do well. If we can show her that we respect her, she may see us as allies rather than threats." By midday, the team had gathered enough observations to form a plan. They would offer her food again, but this time, something more carefully prepared. Using resources from their packs and supplies from the outpost, they created a small arrangement of fruits, carefully cleaned and organized on a large flat stone. Elias led the approach, motioning for the others to stay behind. "Remember," he said, "slow movements, calm voices. Nothing aggressive. This is a test, not a trap." The giantess noticed them immediately. She turned, her massive head lifting high above the tree line. Her eyes focused on the humans, and for a moment, there was silence. Then, with a low rumble, she approached cautiously, moving in slow, deliberate steps. Each step made the ground tremble slightly, reminding the humans of the difference in size. Marin held her breath, extending her hand with the offering. "Please, take this," she said softly. The giantess stopped a few meters away, sniffing the food, and then, as before, she laughed. The sound rolled through the trees, a deep, echoing laugh that was neither fully threatening nor fully friendly. But it was different from yesterday. This time, it seemed curious, almost amused. Elias motioned for the team to stay still. "She's testing us," he whispered. "Observe her reactions." The giantess reached for the food. This time, she did not just eat it. She inspected each piece carefully, touching some and ignoring others, as if judging the quality. Then she took a fruit and handed it to one of the small creatures nearby. The team watched, fascinated. She was not just eating. She was sharing, communicating in a way humans could only begin to understand. "She understands," Marin said softly. "She knows we're trying to communicate." Elias nodded. "Exactly. And humans survive through communication, strategy, and adaptability. That's why we are here." For the next several hours, the humans continued their cautious interaction. They learned more about the giantess's behavior, how she responded to gestures, to offering food, and even to the tone of their voices. She seemed especially responsive to calm, gentle tones, and reacted negatively when loud noises or sudden movements occurred. At one point, one of the small alien rodents darted past them, making a high-pitched squeal. The giantess froze instantly, scanning the area, and then let out a warning rumble. Elias realized that her senses were incredibly sharp. She could detect danger far better than humans could. "She's not just huge," he whispered. "She's aware of everything around her. Her instincts are perfect for survival." As the day progressed, the humans began experimenting with simple signals. Elias would wave his hands in certain patterns, and Marin would place fruits in specific arrangements. The giantess reacted to these changes, sometimes with a low rumble of approval, sometimes with a curious tilt of her head. By late afternoon, they felt confident enough to take a small step closer. Elias approached cautiously, offering a larger fruit with both hands. The giantess paused, staring at him with her dark, intelligent eyes. Then, after a long moment, she reached out slowly and took it. The humans held their breath as she chewed thoughtfully. Then, in a gesture that made them all relax, she gave a small nod and placed her hand gently on the ground near them, a sign that she acknowledged their presence and meant no harm. "She's trusting us," Marin said quietly, awe in her voice. Elias smiled faintly. "Not fully. But it's progress. Trust is built step by step, just like understanding. As evening approached, a new sound reached their ears, a low rumble from the distance. Different from the giantesses, Elias stiffened. "Stay alert," he said. The team scanned the horizon and saw movement among the trees. Another group was approaching. Unlike the giantess, these figures were smaller, faster, and carried equipment that glinted in the dim light. "They're not from our outpost," Elias said quietly. "And they don't look friendly." The humans watched as the newcomers drew closer. It became clear that they were aliens, members of a faction known for hunting creatures for their strength and resources. Elias realized that they had stumbled into a trap. These creatures had likely tracked the giantess, hoping to capture her. "We need to protect her," Elias said firmly. "Not just because she's powerful, but because she's intelligent. And she has rights too, just like we do." Marin nodded, her fear replaced with determination. "We can do it. We've learned her patterns. We can outsmart them." Elias quickly outlined a plan. They would use the forest to their advantage, setting up obstacles and traps using the environment. Fallen trees, thick vines, and narrow trails could slow the intruders while giving the humans and the giantess the upper hand. The giantess seemed to sense the danger as well. She moved closer to the humans, her eyes scanning the approaching aliens. Then she let out a low, rumbling growl of warning, and a sign that she was ready to defend herself if necessary. For the next hour, the humans and the giantess worked together, instinctively coordinating. Marin placed fruits and objects in specific patterns. Elias directed movements, and the giantess used her strength and size to manipulate the terrain. Together, they created a barrier that would delay the intruders. When the aliens arrived, they were confused and frustrated by the obstacles. The humans moved quickly, using their knowledge of the terrain to stay hidden, while the giantess loomed above, a silent but terrifying presence. The invaders did not expect such coordination or such cleverness from the smaller creatures before them. Eventually, the aliens decided the risk was too great and retreated, leaving the valley in silence. The giantess watched them go, then turned to the humans. She made a deep rumble that seemed almost like a laugh. This time, less dark and more approving. Marin stepped forward. "You did it," she whispered. "You protected your home." The giantess lowered her massive head, and for a moment, she touched the ground gently near Marin, a sign of acknowledgement and trust. Elias felt a surge of pride. The humans had succeeded not by fighting blindly, but by using intelligence, observation, and empathy. As night fell, the humans set up a safe perimeter and rested, knowing that the giantess would stay nearby. For the first time, they felt a sense of partnership rather than fear. The creature that had once seemed terrifying was now an ally in the strange, untamed world of Ka-Lyra. Marin gazed at the giantess, lying near the clearing, and smiled. "We're learning from each other," she said. Elias nodded. "Yes, and that is what humans do best. We adapt, we learn, and we survive. Sometimes, survival is not about strength alone, but about intelligence, courage, and understanding." The stars emerged in the sky above the valley, reflecting on the mist that swirled around the forest. The giantess stirred slightly, her eyes bright and alert, watching the humans with curiosity and perhaps even admiration. Tomorrow, they would face new challenges, but for now, the humans knew they had made a breakthrough. Trust could be built, alliances could form, and even the most fearsome creatures could become allies if humans approached with respect. Intelligence and courage. In the quiet of the forest, a deep, low laugh echoed again this time, carrying no threat, only curiosity and acknowledgement. The giantess had accepted them, and the humans had proven that they were clever, brave, and worthy companions in the wild and dangerous world of Ka-Lyra. And so, The test had begun, and humanity had passed its first trial. The morning sun filtered through the misty canopy of the Kalira forest, casting streaks of gold over the damp leaves. Captain Elias and his team awoke to the faint rustle of enormous trees swaying in the wind. But this morning felt different. The air carried tension, a sense of something approaching. Elias stood at the edge of the clearing, scanning the horizon. "Something's coming," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Stay alert. Move quietly and follow my lead." Marin adjusted her pack and nodded. "Do you think it's them again? The alien faction?" Elias frowned. "I don't know, but we can't take chances. Remember, humans survive by using their minds and their teamwork. That's our advantage." From the shadows, a distant clattering reached their ears, metal glinting among the trees. Strange machines moving too fast and too precisely for the forest. The alien faction had returned, more prepared this time. They had tracked the humans and the Giantess, intending to capture her for their own gain. The team moved swiftly but quietly, using knowledge of the terrain to stay hidden. They led the Giantess toward a narrow gorge, a place where the intruders' machines would be less effective. Elias whispered instructions as they went. "Use the trees, the cliffs, the natural traps. Slow them down. We're not strong enough to confront them directly, but we are clever enough to outsmart them." The Giantess seemed to understand immediately. She moved with precision, stepping carefully over rocks and fallen logs, her massive size a natural shield for the humans. As they positioned themselves strategically along the gorge, Marin glanced at the massive creature beside them. "She's helping us," she said in awe. "She understands." Elias nodded. "Yes, and that is the point of today. Brute strength alone won't save her or us. It's strategy and teamwork that matter." As the aliens drew closer, their machines emitting low hums, Elias signaled the Giantess to pause. She lowered herself slightly, pressing her massive body against the forest floor, blending with the shadows. The humans followed suit, hiding behind rocks and trees. The first alien machine appeared in the gorge. It was smaller than expected, but heavily armed. The humans watched as it moved forward cautiously, sensors scanning for movement. Elias pointed to a narrow passage above. "Marin, place the vine trap there. Elias, I'll shift the rocks below to delay them." Working quickly, the humans set their plan into motion. Vines were tied across the narrow passage. Rocks were balanced in precarious positions. The Giantess, understanding their intent, used her immense strength to nudge several logs into the path, creating obstacles the machines could not easily overcome. The first machine moved forward, and then froze as the vine snapped against its sensors. Its metallic limbs twisted awkwardly as it tried to navigate the fallen logs. Elias and his team held their breath. "Good," Elias whispered. "Now watch." The alien faction attempted to push through, but the humans had anticipated their moves. Rocks tumbled down the cliffs, vines entangled machinery, and the Giantess, with her massive hands, blocked narrow exits. The invaders were confused, frustrated, and slow, unable to predict the coordination between humans and the Giantess. Marin's heart pounded. She had never seen anything like this. Humans, tiny and vulnerable compared to the alien machines, were controlling the battlefield with intelligence, strategy, and careful planning. The Giantess acted as a living shield, her presence alone forcing the invaders to rethink their approach. Elias signaled the team to advance carefully. "Remember, we are not here to destroy them. We are here to survive and protect. Use obstacles, traps, and strategy. Do not engage directly unless necessary." The aliens grew impatient. They activated a larger machine, a towering structure designed for brute force. It moved toward the humans and the Giantess, its mechanical limbs smashing obstacles in its path. The ground shook with every step. The giantess stepped forward. She raised a massive hand and shifted a boulder into the machine's path. The machine stumbled but did not fall. Ilias saw an opportunity. Marin signaled her to guide it into the narrow canyon. Use the fruit markers we practiced with. Marin quickly arranged the fruits in a pattern. The giantess had learned to recognize one that indicated direction and caution. The giantess understood immediately, stepping to the side and gently nudging the machine with her shoulder. The machine teetered, then slid into the narrow canyon, wedged between cliffs. Unable to move, the humans exhaled, relief washing over them. The remaining smaller machines hesitated, their programming unable to adapt to the clever tactics humans and the giantess had used. Elias and his team moved swiftly, using vines, rocks, and their understanding of the terrain to disable the rest without confrontation. After a tense hour, the alien faction retreated. They had underestimated the humans' intelligence, coordination, and the alliance with the giantess. The forest was silent once again, except for the soft rumble of the giantess as she watched the last of the invaders disappear into the distance. Marin approached cautiously. "You did it," she whispered to the giantess. "You protected the forest. And us." The giantess lowered her massive head, touching the ground near Marin in a gesture of acknowledgement. Elias smiled. "This is what humans do best. We survive by observing, learning, and adapting. And we protect what matters, not just with strength, but with brains and courage." As the day faded into evening, the team worked to repair minor damage in the forest and ensure the giantess's home was safe. They moved carefully, respecting her space, understanding that trust had been earned through cooperation and intelligence, not fear. Elias looked at the giantess. Lying down near a grove of enormous ferns, her dark eyes still alert. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we will learn even more. About her, and about what humans are capable of when we face the unknown." Marin smiled, exhausted but proud. "We've already learned so much. She's amazing. And we're amazing too, in our own way." Elias nodded. "Exactly. And the best part? We've only just begun. There's more to this forest, more to her, and more to the challenges we'll face. But humans survive and thrive because we think, adapt, and work together." Night fell, and the forest settled into quiet, save for the occasional rustle of creatures moving under the trees. The giantess lay still, her presence a reminder of both danger and possibility. The humans, though smaller and physically weaker, had proven their worth. Through observation, strategy, and empathy, they had outsmarted a powerful enemy and earned the trust of a being far stronger than themselves, somewhere deep in the forest. A low laugh echoed again, not dark, not threatening, but approving. The giantess had recognized the humans' ingenuity and courage. They had passed the first real test of survival together, and their bond had been strengthened through challenge and cooperation. Marin gazed up at the night sky, stars shining bright against the misty canopy. "We did it," she whispered. "We're part of this world now, in a way we never imagined." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, humans are clever, adaptable, and brave. That's why we survive. That's why we succeed. And that's why, together, we can face anything, even the unknown." The forest of Kalira was alive, filled with unseen creatures and mysteries yet to be discovered. And at the center of it all, a giantess stood as guardian, powerful and intelligent, yet willing to trust the humans who had shown respect, courage, and cleverness. The adventure was far from over. New challenges awaited, but the humans had proven that they were not just survivors. They were thinkers, planners, and allies capable of extraordinary feats. And with the giantess by their side, they had a chance to uncover the secrets of Kalira and ensure that humans, in their ingenuity and bravery, would thrive on this alien world. The night deepened and the team rested, knowing that tomorrow would bring new discoveries, new tests, and new opportunities to prove that humans could rise to any challenge, even when faced with creatures of unimaginable power. And far below, in the misty forest, the giantess shifted slightly, her massive form blending with the shadows. She watched the humans with keen, intelligent eyes, curious and approving. The bond had been forged, and the story of trust, courage, and ingenuity had only just begun. The sun rose slowly over the Kalira forest, golden rays cutting through the morning mist and illuminating the enormous trees. Captain Elias stood at the edge of the clearing, looking down at the giantess. She was awake, moving gracefully among the ferns, her massive eyes scanning the forest with intelligence and awareness. "Today," Elias said quietly to his team, "we continue building trust. Yesterday, we survived. Today, we learn." Marin adjusted her pack, excitement shining in her eyes. "She's amazing. I feel like we're learning from her too." Elias nodded. "Exactly. That's what this is about. Humans survive because we observe, think, and adapt. And now, we are learning to communicate with a being far stronger than ourselves." The team approached slowly, carrying carefully prepared food. Elias had instructed them to move calmly, to speak softly, and to make deliberate gestures that the giantess could understand. The giantess noticed them immediately. Her dark, intelligent eyes followed every movement. She paused for a moment, then bent down, sniffing the offerings. With a slow, deliberate motion, she picked up a fruit and ate it. Then she looked up, meeting Elias's gaze, her expression unreadable. "She's watching us," Marin whispered. "Yes," Elias replied. "And she's thinking. Remember, we are in her world. Respect and patience are our allies." For the next several hours, the humans carefully observed the giantess, learning her behavior. They noticed how she protected small creatures, how she used the environment to navigate safely, and how she responded to their gestures. Every action was deliberate, intelligent, and purposeful. Marin knelt beside a small grove, placing fruits in a pattern the giantess had learned to recognize. The giantess approached, pausing at each fruit, touching them gently, and giving a low rumble of approval. It was clear she understood the humans' intent. They were not trying to control her, but to communicate, to offer respect. Elias watched closely. "We are learning the language of trust," he said. "It's subtle, but effective. Humans survive through understanding and empathy, and today, we are proving that." As the day progressed, the humans decided to explore deeper into the forest. Elias led the team, signaling the giantess to follow. She moved beside them, careful not to harm the smaller plants or creatures, her massive steps measured and precise. Along the way, they discovered hidden groves, sparkling streams, and unusual rock formations. The forest was alive with alien creatures, each unique and adapted to this strange world. The giantess guided them, occasionally pointing with her massive hand or nudging obstacles out of the way. It was clear that she was not only their ally but also their guide, sharing the knowledge of her home with patience and care. At one point, they reached a clearing where sunlight poured down, revealing a small lake. The water was clear, reflecting the giantess and the humans alike. Marin knelt at the edge, filling a small container with water for the team. The giantess approached, lowering her massive head to drink, careful not to splash or disturb the humans. "She's gentle," Marin said softly. "Even though she's so powerful, she's careful." Elias nodded. "That is strength controlled by intelligence. Humans must learn to respect power as well as use their own abilities wisely. Today, we see that in action." As they continued exploring, Elias noticed subtle signs that the forest was reacting to their presence. Branches moved slightly, animals paused to observe, and even the wind seemed to shift around them. It was as if the forest itself recognized the alliance between humans and the giantess. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the valley. The humans froze, instinctively scanning for danger. But the sound did not come from the forest. It came from the horizon. Another alien faction, larger and more aggressive than before, had arrived, seeking to capture the giantess. Elias turned to his team. Stay calm. Yesterday, we survived through strategy. Today, we will do the same, but we have an advantage. She knows this forest. We know her. And together, we are stronger than they realize. The giantess, sensing the new threat, stepped forward, her massive body blocking the humans from view. Her eyes glimmered with focus, and she let out a deep, rumbling growl. It was not just a sound of warning, but a signal of coordination. A silent communication with the humans. Elias quickly formulated a plan. They would use the terrain again, setting up natural obstacles, guiding the intruders into narrow passages, and letting the giantess use her strength strategically. Unlike yesterday, the team had the advantage of experience. They knew her patterns, her intelligence, and her reactions. As the alien faction advanced, they were met with obstacles and unexpected maneuvers. Fallen trees, thick vines, and narrow canyons slowed their progress. The giantess moved with precision, nudging boulders and redirecting streams of water to create barriers. Every action was deliberate, coordinated with the humans, and designed to protect their home. Marin watched in awe. We're not just surviving, she whispered. We're thriving together. Elias smiled. Yes, this is human ingenuity. We use our minds, our observation, and our planning to overcome challenges, even when the odds are against us. The aliens, frustrated and unable to predict the humans' coordination, began to retreat. Their machines were tangled in vines, blocked by boulders, and delayed by clever use of terrain. The giantess towered over them, a silent guardian, her eyes sharp and commanding. Once the intruders were gone, the forest returned to calm. The giantess lowered her head, touching the ground near the humans in a gesture of acknowledgement. Elias knelt beside Marin, looking at the massive creature. She trusts us, he said quietly. And we've earned her trust through intelligence, patience, and courage. That is what makes humans extraordinary. Marin smiled, a feeling of pride washing over her. We didn't just protect her. We became part of this world in a way we never imagined. The team spent the evening reinforcing their bond with the giantess. They shared food, mimicked her gestures, and communicated through patterns and sounds she had learned to recognize. Slowly, the humans realized that they were no longer merely visitors. They were allies, partners, and friends to a being far stronger than themselves. As night fell, the valley glowed with a soft alien light from bioluminescent plants. The giantess settled near the humans, her massive frame creating a protective presence. The team, exhausted but exhilarated, sat quietly, reflecting on the day's events. Elias spoke softly, as if to himself and the forest alike. Humans survive because we adapt. We learn, we observe, and we respect the world around us. And today, we've proven that, once again. Marin looked up at the giantess, who tilted her head, her eyes intelligent and curious. She slowly reached out, touching the edge of the humans' camp, a gesture of trust and acknowledgement. Marin smiled and extended her hand, placing a small fruit in the giantess's palm. The giantess chewed thoughtfully, then gave a low rumble, a sound that felt almost like approval. She licked her lips in satisfaction, not in hunger for humans, but as a signal that she recognized their friendship and respect. Elias nodded. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but today we have learned that humans are capable of extraordinary things. Courage, intelligence, and empathy. These are our strengths. And together, we can face anything, even in a world far stranger than our own. Marin leaned back, looking at the stars that now twinkled through the misty canopy. "We're ready," she whispered. "We've survived, we've learned, and we've grown. And we'll keep growing together." The giantess shifted slightly, her massive body blending with the shadows of the trees. Her eyes, bright and alert, watched the humans with curiosity and approval. The bond had been forged. Humans and a creature far stronger than themselves had come together, proving that courage, intelligence, and respect could overcome even the greatest challenges. The forest of Kalira was alive, filled with mysteries yet to be discovered. And at the center of it all stood the humans, small, clever, brave, and their enormous ally, the Giantess. Together, they had survived, learned, and built a partnership that would endure. The adventure was far from over. New threats, discoveries, and mysteries awaited. But for the humans, one truth had been proven beyond doubt. They were capable of extraordinary courage, ingenuity, and understanding. And with all eyes, no matter how enormous or powerful, there was no challenge they could not face. As the night deepened, the valley remained quiet. The humans slept lightly, knowing the giantess was nearby, guarding them and the forest. A soft, approving rumble echoed through the mist, her signature, her way of acknowledging the bond they had forged. Tomorrow, new adventures would begin. But today, humanity had triumphed, not through sheer strength, but through intelligence, patience, empathy, and courage. And that, more than anything, was what made them truly extraordinary. The stars shone. Bright above, the forest hummed softly with life, and the giantess lay peacefully near the humans. Together, they had survived, and together, they would thrive. The story of humans and the giantess had reached a triumphant chapter, proving that even in a vast alien world, courage, cleverness, and respect could forge bonds stronger than fear or power. And with that bond, a future of exploration, discovery, and unity awaited, one filled with hope, adventure, and the remarkable ingenuity of humanity.